us.
Exactly.
You know?
Absolutely. All right. So we'll be live in 3, 2, 1. All right. Welcome back, guys. Episode 2. Happy to have you. We have my good friend here, Tiff Bux. She is the co-host of the other co-host, because we met the one co-host. This is the girlfriend of the boyfriend of My Boyfriend Loves Bravo. She's an actress. She's a comedian, formerly Mrs. Met. Biggest theater nerd that I know. I will get you win
Proud of that. Thank you. Thank you. Proud of that.
And as Sheena, formerly Sheena Shea from Vanderpump Rules would say, one of my best friends.
Best friends.
So excited to have her on. You guys are going to love her. We're going to talk about some fun stuff. Super excited to have you.
Well, in the words of Winifred Sanderson, thank you, Mitch, for that marvelous introduction.
Hello, Salem.
Hello, Salem.
Oh, that's a great start.
Thank you.
Great start. Love it. See, this is why we bring her on. This is why we bring her on.
This is just who we are, though, as people. I would have said that whether the camera was rolling or not, because you know how many times we've watched Hocus Pocus. That's my line.
The amount of times that Hocus Pocus has been quoted, has been talked about, but I mean, phenomenal movie.
Among many other movies that we love and quote and banter about all the time.
I have to get my male pig comment in, but even Sarah Jessica Parker looked good.
That was peak Sarah Jessica Parker. I'm a female, and I'm willing to say that. You know, it is what it is. I'm sure she knows it too. God bless her. She's amazing. We love Carrie Bradshaw, but
we love you, Sarah.
But there's no one like Sarah Sanderson. I mean, she was
that's an iconic character.
That song at the end with the kids. Oh, girl.
That's almost peak Bette Midler too, and I know
absolutely
Bette has a huge career.
Yes,
but
that being said, and here's a chance to incorporate some Bravo.
Yeah.
If Bette Midler were to join the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which she recently requested, she actually pitched herself. I think that would be peak.
That would be phenomenal.
Bette Midler.
Bette is so dramatic.
So dramatic.
In the best way.
Oh, she would eat these little Beverly Hills puppy dogs alive. Yeah. She would chew them up and spit them out, and I would just love to see her do it.
Wow, that's insane because, you know, like we've always talked about, you know, Queen Lisa Vanderpump. She knows how to play the game.
Yes, she does.
She knows better than anyone in reality television how to get the content. Will you throw in a season? No offense to Lisa Vanderpump. You have your acting credits and everything, but we're talking
However, right.
This is Bette Midler.
This is Bette Midler. We're talking beaches. Oh. You know, we're all these iconic roles. I mean, she can sing. She can act. She can do it all. But she also has that New York attitude.
She does.
She has that sharp, smart wit and tongue. And with the way she would go after Trump on Twitter, I would just love to see her go after these women. Like,
would love that.
Would love it.
Would love that more than anything.
Same.
Because that's what you need on, especially, and that's what makes those shows, I don't have to tell you, but that's what makes those shows so great is that drama that you have someone that's going to go after people and instigate, and sometimes you need a New Yorker.
Well, this is getting onto, you know, I mean, are we on my podcast or yours right now really quick? But like, and I'm going to, obviously you got to come on mine because I know all of your Bravo takes are beautiful, and I am just like a proud mom listening to you guys talk about Vanderpump when I'm not even in the room. It's quite remarkable.
I upset myself.
I mean, it's beautiful to see, but it's like Lisa Rinna was that person on Beverly Hills. And I know so many people are like, I hated her. I don't know how you like her. I'm like, I don't want to hang out with her. I just want to watch her on TV and stir the pot and be the big mouth drama queen that she is.
Sure.
That doesn't mean I'm going to want to hang out with her. Same thing with Teresa Giudice. I love to watch her on TV. I don't really want to hang out with her. No offense. I think they're great characters and they're great at what they do. My friends are my friends. It's a different setup.
Absolutely. We've said that about, you know, several of, you know, my particular favorite show there, Vanderpump Rules. Like Tom Sandoval.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the greatest villains of all time.
Villain.
Awful human.
Horrible human. The worst. The worst of the worst. As you've been saying, this is peak Schwartz without the, you know, the influence of Tom. I think once he got burned from that restaurant, he really started to recognize what was, you know, what was going on with him.
Well, Schwartz was able to, I think, finally see, I don't know what took him 20 plus years, that, he really is out for himself.
Yeah.
As much as he says that, you know, you're my boy, you're my best friend. No,
it's all manipulative.
All of it.
It's all about him. He's a narcissist. But we're going to save this conversation for my pod because I'm having you on soon.
Well, you know what? And we won't even talk the Valley because I was going to throw that in there, but you know what? We could say one thing about the Valley though. Just one thing. And you know what I'm going to say.
It's Doute's finest hour. Peak Doute. Kristen, welcome back to TV, sweetheart. God, we missed you. Yeah, give it up for Kristen Doute. Doute in her 40s. I mean, we love to see it. Peak Doute.
Kristen, I'm sure you felt this way about yourself sometimes, seeing yourself on camera too. I couldn't stand you in most seasons.
Oh my God, she was unbearable to watch. The things that she would say.
She is unironically one of my favorite people on television right now.
Oh my God, me too. Like, killing it. And I'm actually sympathizing with her in this season because, one, if you're going to tell Kristen something, her big mouth is going to open it at some point.
Yeah.
That's just inevitable.
Yeah.
Don't tell Kristen something unless you want it repeated, one. Two, everyone has problems in their marriage, it seems. Looking at Jesse and Michelle in particular, who are now dating other people, literally with the hand, right? The hand going up and slamming the table. I mean, you could just see the problems from a mile away, right? It's psychotic. But they're trying to blame Kristen in these episodes for their marriage. And it's like really insane. And now they're literally both of them dating other people. Mm-hmm. So that's just like not cool. That whole shit with Janet too, also not cool. I mean, with her like pseudo microaggression, racism comment that she tried to be like, I never said that. Yeah. What are you talking about? I can't stand people like that.
She is our age.
No.
Isn't that amazing? She's 34.
No. Oh, she's nothing like me. Oh my God. At 34,
I thought she was in her 40s.
Me too. I thought she was at least 10 years older than us. And that's insane.
I'll let you guys know, this is not even a shot at how she looks. It's kind of how she acts.
It's exactly how she acts.
She acts like a bored housewife.
She really does.
Looking up people's
Zillow. Which I have done before. I get it. But like
itself,
still.
I don't hate that.
Neither do I.
But it's the
coming from the source.
Exactly.
She is just the type of person that likes to stir the pot, but also keep her hands clean. So she's going to like say something and go, blah, 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 blah. And it's going to sound really good, but she's going to take that step back. Uh-huh. I'm just going to leave this here on the table. You do with it what you want to do with it. But to me, she was against this, for this bill that has, a lot to do with don't say gay and blah, blah, blah. Right. And it's just a lot of making the mess and just walking away from it.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
Own it. Doute owns it. Jax owns it. He just said it. I'm a gossip. Own it. Just own it.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with having these negatives about who you are.
No.
I give anyone on reality television in general, I give you a long rope because you're putting yourself out there.
Totally.
I have a lot of respect for you.
Me too.
But at the same time, you are then also allowing us to see everything and make a decision about, or our own decision about who you are.
And people will judge that. Especially
that.
People on X, formerly known as Twitter. Mm-hmm. Like, they are the ones who are going to share what they feel and let you know how they feel about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely, always. And Twitter is, X, formerly known as Twitter. Yeah. Every time someone sends me a link from X.com, I'm like, what is...
Literally, is this porn?
This porn?
I know,
I'm at work right now.
It's actually jarring. It is. But, Elon Musk, just a whole nother thing for another day, right?
Not even getting there, because I could just go for hours.
For real.
Who decided this man was smart? I'm done.
Same.
I'm done.
Yeah, we're leaving it there. Leave that one on the table.
Leave it there. You know what? And also, in the true nature of this show, I've left my water. Need the water.
Definitely need the water. I'm going to take a sip while you are getting your hydration on.
You take a sip. I get to take you guys with me because I got these fancy microphones. You won't have to listen to any dry mouth. We're doing good things.
Yeah, we definitely don't want that.
Mm-hmm. So let's just jump right into comedy. Something that is near and dear to both of us.
Yep.
We also do some comedy writing together, me and Tiff. So we're also big comedy nerds, this is something I love about Tiff also. That
Thank you.
We can nerd out with this kind of stuff.
Totally.
She does things, she gets me to think at times in different ways too. I'll never completely agree with her on not loving slapstick humor. I get where she's coming. She doesn't love slapstick humor, thinks that it's cheap.
Yeah.
Which I get.
It's just old. It's not that, you know what I mean? It's just like an old form of comedy. I think that if it's like well placed and like not overdone, I like it. When it could be in a situation that's like a one-off thing, or like here and there just like dropped and as a nod to slapsticky comedy, I think that's great. But something like Naked Gun, Leslie Nielsen, like that is just over the top, in your face. You're getting smacked over the head with it.
Yeah.
And after a while, the joke just runs cold for me. It just it gets dry for me.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of person where I like more unexpected humor and like smart, didn't expect them to say that kind of humor. Like a lot of when I watch Parks and Rec, for example, this is a really good example of this. When I would watch Parks and Rec, the humor was so unexpected. It made me laugh every time. There's one part specifically, I'm just going to throw this as an example, where in season 2, they are growing a community garden. And it's like, I think it's part of the cold open where Tom Haverford is saying the scientific names of the flowers, and Leslie is going on about how Tom knows all the scientific names of the flowers, and you're thinking, oh, okay, where are they going with this? And he just starts naming rappers. Oh, those Ludacris's are coming in wonderfully, and those Bone Thugs and Harmonies. Like, I was dying. I laughed so hard. Like, those ditties are looking really fresh. Like, so genius. And that's just like a small example of like something that you wouldn't expect to hear him say, something you wouldn't expect to see happen. And it just made me laugh so hard.
Exactly.
Slapstick comedy's predictable.
Yeah, you're right. There's no setup.
No.
We've talked about a guy who, I've always loved, and I've reluctantly been compared to, being Chris Farley. And that is all very easy. It was all very easy for him to
and
be
of
funny.
the time.
But you're right, though. It's very of the time. It
Yes.
was, him and David Spade. It's like Chris Farley's going to break something and David Spade's angry about it.
Right.
And it worked then. But you're right, though. Comedy needs to evolve.
Yeah.
So maybe that is, I could see that where that seems, Abbott and Costello seems very old.
And I appreciate it, and I respect it for what it
smarter
is.
Than slapstick.
But again, I was just going to say
smart.
that's even a step up from slapstick. I was going to say that's more elevated and more like, that's part of history as far as I'm concerned.
For sure.
So there's a reverence there that I have for Abbott and Costello.
Agreed.
But when it's just, like I said, when it's just overdone and in your face like that, it just gets redundant and it gets boring. And for someone like me who also did go to UCB and did study comedy really extensively and really learned how to write these things. I mean, the form of improv that I learned to do at UCB, we've talked about this.
Real quick, Upright Citizen Brigade, drop a couple names. Because obviously you're a big name, but drop a couple names of people who were UCB people. This is
people who went to UCB that became famous.
Notorious improv school.
So many of them. I mean, Amy Poehler is a founder. Let's just start there. Horatio Sands is from there. Ben Schwartz is from there. Ellie Kemper, Zach Woods, Thomas Middleditch. Just, a couple. Those are off the top of my head.
The Office and Parks and Rec.
Office, Parks and Rec, exactly. Like all of the above. Any great comedy probably has some UCB. Adam McKay was another one who was obviously heavily involved in UCB. And, these are all really amazing comedians. It's just to name a few. And actually, I'm going to shout out someone who I watched very heavily when I was at UCB. His name is Brandon Scott Jones, and he is one of the funniest people I've ever seen in my life. Like, I watched this man do comedy in a basement, and now he is in movies. He is on TV. I see him all the time on like a commercial. Yeah, he is great. And like, probably doesn't even know who I am. He subbed my class one time, and I just thought he was like the funniest human. I could never get into one of his classes, but I watched him every week on an improv team called Grandma's Ashes. They were so funny. And it turns out that Drew actually loved them at the time when I didn't even know him.
Oh, that's
and
funny.
He went to a bunch of their shows. So I was probably in the audience at some point when he was also at a Grandma's Ashes show, which blows my mind, right?
New York City, though.
That's what it's like.
It's a big city, but it's not.
It'd be like that. And I watch this kid in a basement like do his thing, and now he's on TV and in movies, which is awesome. Incredible. So there's a lot of names like that. And, that was a part of the appeal, of course, of going to UCB, but it is a oversaturated market. And, I mean, at the time, they had their issues, and, they had to recently close down, and they were opening back up again. So I wish them all the best. Maybe I'll revisit that at some other point in my life. But they did teach me a lot. They helped me a lot, and I definitely knew when it was time for me to go and time for me to explore other endeavors. But being there, they taught me how to write comedy and how to build a joke and how to build the game. There is one thing between like being naturally funny, which I like to think I am. I like to think I make people laugh. I like to think that that's a special, thing that I have about me, and I pride myself on that. But it's different when you learn the technique and you know how to write stuff.
Sure.
So now it's like I said, the Harold, that's the structure of improv that we learned.
Yeah.
But that's also first and foremost a writing technique for sitcoms.
Sure.
In particular, Seinfeld. Seinfeld uses that structure in every episode. So if I watch an episode of Seinfeld, it's almost like I can predict what's about to happen without, that's why when we watch The Office. So preface, I had never watched The Office when it was on TV. I know. Oh no, blah, 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 right? I know, the worst. Okay. Well,
She's now since watched every episode.
I have since watched every episode.
And now some Superfan episodes.
And we're watching the Superfans ones right now. Exactly. Because I appreciate the comedy in a different way than I did at one point. That being said, though, how many predictions did I make when watching The Office for the first time?
This is also a great, not even segue, but great way to bring this up. And I think you know where I'm going to go.
Totally, yes.
But I have seen this a million times with you, and it's especially with Pam.
It's always with Pam. Oh my God.
On this rewatch that I kind of caught with Tiff a bit, I really realized that, I'll give myself the credit this. I was day one when I saw a clip of The Office, the British Office, and was like, this looks hilarious. And then saw they're doing, this guy, Steve Carell, who I kind of knew. Me and my friends were excited. We were there I want to say that it was either Wednesdays or Thursdays. We had office parties. We would watch The Office from the beginning.
That's awesome.
But it was from a different time. So now looking back with that lens, you watching it the first time really helps me realize how lame Pam is.
Pam sucks.
Jim's not much better.
Jim also sucks. I don't know how this is the rock star couple of that show. It really should be Dwight and Angela and Michael and Holly. But I can't say them through the end because they didn't make it to the end of the show. But their arc was perfect.
It was.
And going off of that, once he left, it really went over to Dwight and Angela because their whole love interest was way more interesting than Pam, the dream stealer, and Jim, the complacent husband. I'm like, bro, this is hard to watch.
They were the hardest to watch in those years. We've talked about Dwight really carries that show.
Carries it on his back. Literally, his back must hurt from all the jokes that he has to carry.
And they were lucky that they were good, just like Parks and Rec was. They were good at finding, comedians.
Yep.
The guy who played Nate in the later episodes, he's a really funny guy.
Yeah.
James Spader, you know how much
Genius.
I love Robert California.
Yeah, we love Robert California.
But
great spin-off character.
They were painful to watch at times.
Yeah.
I want this job. No, you don't. Yes, I do. But you should move. And this whole time, Philadelphia is 2 hours away from Scranton.
Right.
They couldn't deal with this.
Right. But this is the girl who also didn't want to go to art school on the weekends because it was too much of a commitment for her. Like, there is no stakes with Pam. No. She is the lowest stakes character I've ever watched. And I get that's kind of the thing. Like, she's just the hometown girl from Scranton. But, girl, I mean, get a little bit of a dream. Like, you're going to be a secretary for the rest of your life and you're going to, like, really be okay with being complacent in the office and, like, making eyes at Jim. And don't even get me started on the whole first couple of seasons with her and Roy, where she's dating this toxic beast of a person. Yeah. And Jim is like goo goo gaga over her, and he's obviously, a great guy, very into her, she's into him, whatever, but it's like, oh no, will they, won't they, blah. No, just don't, it's too much at that point. Like, it was unlikable.
Absolutely.
And then he starts dating Karen and she's mad about it. Bro, he should have ended up with Karen Filippelli. That's just my thing.
That is not a hot take at all, because I've heard people say that. I do agree with that also. I like that. I like the arc that they gave her a little bit too. That she kind of got to get her jabs in at Jim later in the series of like, no, I'm doing fine.
In my head,
she's Michael's job now.
Agreed. Yes.
She did what you were hoping for out of Pam from the beginning.
Absolutely.
Getting more out of her. Her arc actually made sense.
Well, she wanted to grow, and Pam doesn't. And that's what sucks about Pam. She stifles Jim, and she stifles that character. And he, when he does want to go to Philadelphia and make the whole, business with the startup and everything, with the sports industry and all that whole storyline, it just... She was fighting him every step of the way, tooth and nail. And it's like, bro, that's your partner. Don't you want your partner to be better? At that point, like early seasons Pam's, okay, you're limited, whatever, we get it. But now at this point, you're with Jim.
Yeah.
You don't want him to grow and be better. You want
Yeah.
him to sell paper for the rest of his life, which is
Agreed.
clearly a dying art.
Agreed.
It was so tough to watch.
Yeah.
Because then you know, for me, I'm coming from watching Parks and Rec first, right?
Yeah.
And I'm coming from strong characters,
Yes.
strong relationships. Every relationship on that show is strong. I could
Yeah.
argue that April and Andy have a strong relationship. Ben and Leslie, Chris and Anne. They all make sense to me.
As you're
Every
saying
one of them.
all this stuff about Jim and Pam, I was literally had Ben and Leslie in my mind of like, take notes.
No comparison.
Both of them sacrificed at points for each other.
Absolutely.
Ben leaves his job with the state. She put off campaigns.
Yep. Remember when she gives him the statue of the Washington Monument when he wants to go to Washington, and he's like, "Where did you get this? I literally just decided." And she's like, "I had one in my desk, like ready to go, so prepared."
It's so good.
And she's just the anti-Pam, and
She is.
I love
Driven.
Leslie. Driven, so driven.
Does way more than she should be able to.
And she was still able to have a successful marriage, have 3 kids, had a great home. They're doing great.
Yeah.
That last season of Parks and Rec was perfect. That's another thing I'm just going to say about Parks and Rec.
Yes.
I arguably think it is the perfect show with the perfect story arc of every single character, down to the last episode where you get to see a glimpse into their future. Everything about that was chef's kiss. I was in hysterics, crying. It was just beautiful. I cried in The Office when they were singing the Rent song to Michael, but they changed the rendition to his time.
Yeah.
And then he had that real emotional reaction because he didn't know that they were going to do that. I didn't
Such a
cry
great
at the finale of The Office, though, because at that point, it wasn't The Office anymore. When Michael left, it stopped being The Office. I felt like the finale of The Office is when they sing him that. And really, this next chapter, it's kind of like a spin-off. That's what it feels like to me. It doesn't feel like that show anymore.
Have you ever heard about, people were wondering, and they were like, fans were mad at Steve Carell for not being in more of the finale, and it was his choice. He had said exactly what you're saying right here. He said, "This isn't my show anymore."
It wasn't.
I'll come back. Because that was a great moment when he pops up and
I thought that made sense.
She said,
yep,
and, that I was like, oh, I cheered up to that.
Of course,
but he was not part of the plot.
No,
it wouldn't have made sense to throw him in because he's living in Colorado.
Right, he has a completely different life, a completely different story now, and that moment when they sing to him really felt like the finale to me, and it felt like that's where the show should end. And one thing I hate about a good show is when they don't know when to fold them. When the show continues past the point of like it's clearly expired now, we're just trying to force this out, and it feels unnatural. I get turned off. I'm like, it's whatever. I'll finish it because I'm here now. But at the end of the day, it's like this really is a different show.
It was very forced towards the end. Let's do the Apple Store. Let's how to figure out how all these we'll go to Florida. We'll throw in Joe Bennett, which great character again, but like. You're trying to fix something that can't be fixed, so it's like sometimes just know when to fold them.
That's it. Just know when to fold them. That's my biggest gripe with comedy in general or shows in general, when they just go too long for the sake of ratings.
Agreed. No, I completely
You lose
agree.
the art.
I completely agree. And as we said a bunch of times, comedy is an art, and
it is.
There's something to it, and you can't force that.
No,
stuff.
if it's a show like South Park where they're constantly just being satirical about everyday life and like the goings on of what we're experiencing in our world, that makes perfect sense.
So unique.
Run that shit for 50 more years. I'll watch the 4th graders never grow up, or 3rd graders, whatever they're in, and I will watch them comment on the same thing and make the same jokes in their satirical way, because it's always about an updated current event. It's not about, we're trying to invent something here. It's really like, we're going to spoof what's going on right now. And it makes it contemporary and fresh every time. They could keep that show going for as long as they want, and it's perfect.
Yeah, because it's as we both love South Park, the characters almost don't matter. They do.
No, they don't.
Of course, Cartman is, they're all iconic characters in themselves, but they're iconic because of these stories.
Right.
They're iconic because of...
Right.
I mean, South Park is just the most quotable of just anything, just that as is tradition.
The Royal Wedding of Canada.
The Royal Wedding of Canada.
The Royal Wedding of Canada doesn't even have any of their main characters in that whole sequence, and it's one of the most memorable ones ever in South Park history for me.
Easily.
So funny. The way they spoof the Mario games with the little mushroom people of Nova Scotia screaming in terror. They literally look like the Toads from the Mario games.
Yes.
It's amazing. And she's supposed to be the princess. And there's the whole Bowser motif. Like, it's so
good.
Brilliant.
So good.
But again, because why? They compared it to a Mario game. And why? The Royal Wedding of Canada, when Kate Middleton, that's supposed to be the Kate Middleton William wedding of the royal wedding of England, right? So when the royals did the whole thing, that was such an uproar that these royals are getting married and blah blah blah. Like, nobody gave a shit. But South Park took what was contemporary in the news and made it into something funny, and that is just timeless for me. That never gets old. That is not slapstick. That will not age. That will not date, because it's constant. Updated news.
Yeah, it's fresh. It's always going to be fresh. It's not, they're not really trying jokes. They're trying, we have this formula that works. Yeah. And we just throw in the situation.
Point out the stupid thing that's going on in our world today. Point out the stupid thing that everyone's talking about, right?
Exactly.
Genius.
And no one does it better than them. And I'm honestly so glad it's in the hands of them.
I agree.
Because they're both phenomenal.
And they both wrote a musical as well, which is another amazing accomplishment.
A great musical.
Phenomenal.
A great musical.
Genius. Hilarious.
Did it win Tonys?
Yes. Lots of them.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that, because, I mean, it's still on, isn't it?
Of course it is. And amazing actors have been in it. Josh Gad, Andrew Reynolds, like really phenomenal Broadway people have played in those roles. And again, it's funny because they are really taking what the Mormons believe and made it into a musical. And that's why, again, it's one of the longest running musicals on Broadway, because when you break down their system, not to say anything, sorry, Mormons, but I think what you believe is absolute garbage. Like, truthfully, I think it's absolute garbage. I mean, the South Park episode on them, on the Mormons, they literally have a little through line going dum 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 dum, and like says it all.
Side note, I have always thought was one of the funniest things, honestly,
ever.
Just comedically. I think that's smart.
I agree,
because we're making this musical where it's like, in itself, it's just going dum da dum dum dum, but we're commenting
on how dumb they are.
Dum da dum dum dum.
Right.
And again, who else can do that but
South Park?
But Matt and Trey.
Exactly.
And we can. One of our favorites that we won't apologize for making fun of, Scientology. Yeah. They did that perfectly too. It wasn't. They didn't need to make things up.
No.
They literally did the story of Xenu. And just did it.
And left it.
And just left it.
And that's what makes it funny.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it timeless. That, to me, never goes out of style. That's how I approach comedy as well. I love to comment on, like, what's going on in the world right now. Even when I'm making a meme or something. Even when I'm doing, like, a Bravo meme. Yeah. It's like, what can I make in the Bravo world that's connected to something relevant that's going on? So when everyone was doing the Travis I'm thing, right? It was like, Travis, I'm really loving Salt Lake City without Jen Shaw on it, because that was the time that was popular when that meme was going on. And it was great to see a Jen Shaw less Salt Lake City. So and it got a lot of likes and it got a lot of attraction because people related to that.
Absolutely. You know what? We'll transition because we got on to musicals. So we'll see what happens always. We're going to jump into musicals. We love that. Because, talking about, a great musical there. Talking about Josh Gad, which, love that he is a musical theater guy.
Me too.
Because I think he is so funny to begin with.
He is.
I always forget the name of the show, but he did a show with Billy Crystal. That was the first thing I knew him from. And it was called The Comedians. I think it was literally supposed to be old comedian, young comedian.
I've heard of this.
And so good.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
So good. He's a guy you can tell gets comedy.
He does.
And on top of it all, then what? In Frozen, he's
Olaf.
He's a Disney legend.
Literally a Disney legend.
And that's just so cool to see that crossover.
Amazing.
That's where I love to see comedy.
I know, me too. And that's like also my dream, that he could go from doing like a comedy with Billy Crystal to going to like be a Disney character and being in a great Disney movie.
Absolutely.
That's the career that I want.
100%.
Please.
100%. That's a serious comedian.
Yeah.
I'm sure he doesn't think of himself as a comedian, but I'm sure at the same time, if we were talking to him, he'd say, yeah, I'm a comedian.
And you have to be in touch with your comedic side to play a snowman.
Yes,
seriously.
Absolutely.
He took that voice acting to the next level, and now every time he goes to Disney, Olaf is everywhere.
Yeah.
That is iconic.
That is. No, it absolutely is. And that almost, being so great with character work, and again,
Yeah,
that comes to comedy,
that's it.
that comes to improv.
That's it.
That comes to, that's what it is.
You said character work.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's character work.
Yeah.
When you can do the character work, everything else comes into play, because character work in itself is what we called at UCB the game.
Yeah.
What's the game?
Yeah.
And a character, an unusual character, can be the game.
Yeah.
And now what do we apply to that character? Okay, well, Olaf is a snowman, right? And we don't want to lose sight of him in the summer, but we can't have winter forever. So what are we going to do? We're going to have Elsa make a little cloud above his head with a snow so he never melts.
Right.
And we're going to play into his game. But
Yeah.
ironically, he's a snowman who loves summer and
right.
wants to melt. And his
Right.
whole song is about summer. That song in itself is genius, because he's like, in summer, everything's going to be great over here. Honey, you're going to melt in summer.
Right.
That comes from
Right.
the character work.
Exactly. This guy, he doesn't get it.
No, and that's their truth.
Exactly.
And that's their truth. And when you can lead from a true place like that, where this snowman is so delulu, he thinks he's going to have a suntan.
Yeah.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Genius role. Genius character.
It is. And hey, shout out Liz Coyne, my improv teacher over at Improvolution. Was very big on that. School was very big on character work in general.
I love that.
And her thing really clicked with me, being what I think of as a funny guy. It's, don't think of the funniest thing to say. You're doing your character work. It's your character, whatever you do, is going to be the funniest thing.
Yes.
You know?
And yes, and, right?
Yes,
Here we
and.
go. Yes, and.
Yes, and.
Yes, and to add to that, whatever you're doing is going to come from your character's truth.
Exactly.
So by like natural dialogue, you're going to say something on brand for your character that's going to be unusual.
Right.
And when it's unusual, it's going to be my job as the street person in the scene, street man, whatever you want to say, to call that out.
Right.
Wait, so you mean to tell me blah, 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 and that's what's going to get the laugh.
Olaf loves summer.
If you hear a little bit of a laugh in an audience, then you build on that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you said, Olaf loves summer. That's the game. The snowman that loves summer. That's the game.
Yeah, now
Play
anything
it.
he says, you get.
Now play it.
Yeah,
Now just do it.
Right. No, absolutely.
What else could we put him in? Maybe we'll get rid of his nose. What does he need? A new stick for his nose? A carrot? What are we going to do? Maybe we'll he's a snowman, right? So maybe we'll change his body around. We'll put his neck on his head or something. There's so many things you could do, because now you know what the game is.
Agreed. No, 100%. 100%. What are some... we'll start with least favorites, because then we're going to get into some favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any least favorite musicals? Musicals you were disappointed in, or maybe an overrated musical?
I feel like the most overrated musicals are, like, I hate to say this because, I appreciate musical theater. I really do. But you get the old musicals that are more like, when they're doing Sunset Boulevard again.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like this. It's like, I'm tired of seeing the same old ones done over and over with the tap numbers from the 40s and whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those overdone Carousel and blah, blah, like the ones that I've seen a million times, the ones that have been around for a while.
Yeah.
I have an appreciation for them. Gypsy, another one. I have an appreciation for it, but Gypsy just runs so long.
Yeah.
It is so overdone. We get it. Excuse me. Liza, you're great. Whatever. Patti LuPone, you're great.
Yeah.
We get it. We get that you're phenomenal. I don't need to see this roll done a million times. It's just not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes place at the turn of the century, basically, and these things are just not relevant anymore. It just doesn't hit like that for me. I could watch it and appreciate it. Company is another one. Like, again, I could watch them and appreciate them, but they drag. They're so long, and God help me when my friends are in shows like this. I'm like, oh, great, someone's in Company. Now I have to go see Company again.
Yeah.
Great. And I don't even like any of the songs, and none of them hit. I'm more into the newer type of musical. I'm more into those musicals like Rent, like Hamilton, who changed the game of musicals.
Yeah.
For me, seeing a musical like Rent, where there was nothing done like that at the time before, there was no such thing as a rock musical before, that was unheard of. That was in itself a revolutionary thing. And the whole theme is, La Vie Boheme, the artist, and that whole like preserving that culture, but at the same time creating this new culture in Broadway, which was so dope.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened again with Hamilton. It was like that same energy of, this is something new. This is something, here's the pun, revolutionary, right? And it also incorporated rap, which had never been done. So you have Rent, who did the rock route. Now you have Hamilton that's going the hip-hop route.
Yeah.
And hip-hop in itself, Lynn has said, is in itself revolutionary, which I totally agree with.
Agreed.
And another note about Hamilton, I compare it to Shakespeare. I really do. I compare it to something like Shakespeare. The written word dialogue of Hamilton on its own is like verse. It's just Shakespearean verse. Mm-hmm. And I think that is so genius. I mean, there's a reason I know every breath of that show.
Yeah.
One, it's banger after banger, but two, that meter, that's what that's called, the meter, helps you remember the words and helps you remember and you're getting the snap. How does a bastard, orphan, and there's the snap.
That was the first song that was coming to my head
of course.
For that. Yeah.
That's the meter.
Yeah, no, it is. And
pardon me,
on.
Are you Aaron Burr, sir? Well, that depends. Who's asking? They're always on the beat, except for Lynn, who's one step ahead of the beat. Lynn has Hamilton one step ahead of the beat, which is also genius. Another just little genius thing. I love that he nods to other great musicals. He actually nods to one of my other favorite musicals that we've talked about before the last 5 years. When Lynn says, "Nobody needs to know," in that one about Miss Mariah Reynolds walked into my life. What is that one?
Oh.
That's no to this. Say no to this.
Yeah.
That part with the "nobody needs to know," that's an exact line and lyric and melody of a song called "Nobody Needs to Know" in the last 5 years.
Oh, is that one of his shows?
No.
Or is this just a show he likes?
No, this is a show by Jason Robert Brown.
Okay.
It was about his failed marriage. It is a beautiful show. Basically, the premise of the show is that I think I've told you this before. This was my friend Amanda's capstone. I directed this.
Oh, this is that one.
In college. Okay. Yeah, it was the standalone. So like every song, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Those are all Kathy's songs. And Kathy goes from the beginning of the relationship to the end. And Jamie, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. His go from the end to the beginning. Oh, excuse me, the beginning to the end. And hers goes from the end to the beginning. And they meet in the middle for one song.
Such a fun concept.
Brilliant concept. So much fun to direct. So much fun to put up. Beautiful show. And it just requires 2 actors. That's it. Simplicity.
Yeah.
One of my favorite musicals of all time, by far. Because it's banger after banger. Yeah. It's another one of those newer, more complex, more genius level musicals. Jason Robert Brown is a genius. He's like a Jonathan Larson and a Lynn type of person. He has that kind of writing ability. Yeah. And his songs are so complex. I once had a voice teacher try to break down the complexity of why the song was so intense. And I was just sitting there dumbfounded, oh, no wonder why I'm having a little bit of a disconnect with this particular part of the song, because this is how complex the music itself actually is.
Yeah, right.
Genius.
Yeah, you were supposed to feel that way. Right,
you're supposed to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
And that's so cool. I mean, just doing something, again, revolutionary is awesome in itself. I love people messing with plot lines, messing with ways to tell stories. Yeah. Like you're saying, they're doing the 1, 3. That's so cool.
Genius.
In itself.
Genius.
And then beyond that, do it would it just be cool in general for someone to make this story about Alexander Hamilton and incorporate rap? Yeah, of course. But it's Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Right. Well, listen to me. When I first heard Broadway's newest musical was about the founding fathers, and it was particularly about Alexander Hamilton, they were literally about to take off the $10 bill at the time. I was like, what is this? This is going to be so, I don't even know. But listen, hey, it's Lynn. And Lynn had already done In the Heights.
Yes.
And I love In the Heights.
In the Heights is great.
In the Heights is amazing.
Party, but it was phenomenal.
Yeah, beautiful.
10 out of 10, highly recommend.
Even the movie was done well with Anthony Ramos. Big fan of the movie rendition. Good. Loved everybody in that movie. Daphne Rubin Vega, Stephanie Beatrice, amazing cast, 10 out of 10 all around. But because I knew who Lynn was,
Yeah.
that was the only reason why I gave it a chance. And when I did, I was like, oh no, this is my new obsession. I have to learn every song now. How am I going to do that? It didn't take long. It really didn't.
No.
That's how much I listened to it.
Hamilton really is. We've talked about this before. I think I'll put it in cement right now. To me, it is the greatest American musical.
I agree with you.
And on so many levels.
I agree.
We've discussed it. It's just not only, love the rap component, but we also get some pretty phenomenal classic Broadway.
Agreed.
We talk about...
he does it on purpose.
My favorite song in it, which and didn't know it before. It wasn't even necessarily my favorite Leaving. I loved it Leaving, but as it grew on me, wait for it.
I told you that was going to happen.
That's
I said that to the first time we listened to it together. After you saw Hamilton on Broadway, I made you watch it on Disney Plus, and when that song came on, I said, I want you to know this is arguably my favorite song in the show for many reasons, including the way he sings it and the words of the song. And you were
powerful.
like, really, this one? And I was like, yes, just trust me, it's going to grow on you. By the fourth time, you're going to be like, oh my God, this really is my favorite song. There is just something about it. It's that bridge, I am the one thing in life I can control. Yep. I am inimitable. I am an original. I'm not falling behind or running late. Those are such powerful words. Yeah. And the way Leslie sings them, take me home, boy. Just take me to church. You're just nailing it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so great. And also just those two dogs.
Yeah.
Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton singing these songs about their girls, I just love it.
He's keeping her bed warm while her husband's away. They're savage. The savage.
It really was. It truly was.
Yeah.
I wish you brought this girl.
She's married. Yeah. She's married. She's married to a British officer. Oh shit. I just want to say this about musicals while we're talking about it. Yes. Two very overrated musicals that popped into my head as we were talking.
Perfect.
Mamma Mia and Phantom of the Opera as well. So overrated. So overrated. Phantom of the Opera is a snooze fest. I'm sorry. Freezing Cold Take maybe from a Broadway kid, but really truly think it is one of the most boring shows of all time.
No, if it's boring, it's boring.
Boring.
Regardless of what other people see in it.
Boring. Cats.
Yeah.
Also, what travesty was that? I have no idea how Cats won as many awards as it did.
It was on forever.
There's a joke on The Nanny that I love where Mr. Sheffield is a Broadway producer. That's his job. He's a Broadway producer on the show, right?
True.
And one of the jokes is that he turned down Cats, and Andrew Lloyd Webber picked it up. And he's like, well, who would have thought that a musical where people are dressed up in cats with a cat makeup on and they're walking around the dumpsters, who thought that would be successful? I'm like, bro, you and me both, though. You and me both. Memory is a terrible song. I said it. The music is not good. The movie was a travesty. James Corden, what is he doing in that movie?
Yeah.
So many mistakes. So many mistakes. So many.
I can't stand James Corden. James Corden, you will never be invited on this podcast.
You're not welcome here. No. Sorry, sir. Heard he's a terrible tipper as well, but that's also been changed according to other sources. I don't know.
I've also heard he screams at servers.
I've heard that too. I heard he's not the nicest.
And I guess, you know what, everybody has a bad day, but if you scream at a server, I think you're
Don't mess with the people who touch your food.
No.
Golden rule.
No.
It's golden rule.
And you know what, I also am realistic enough to know that, games of telephone happen when it comes to rumor mills, and it could have been he made and here I am now making excuses for James Corden, but he could have just been a little rude to someone, and then they took that as, James Corden's an asshole. But to be fair, enough stuff about someone,
I agree with that. And to be fair, if you're in the public eye, you know that people are scrutinizing you.
For sure.
I am not in the public eye yet.
Yeah.
And I still go out of my way to be extra nice to everybody,
of course.
Extra appreciative, extra thankful. If I had money on top of that, bro, I would leave you $100 tip just because I could. That's where I come from.
For sure.
So when I see people abusing their power and their platform like that, it just turns me off and rubs me the wrong way. I don't like that.
No, and it makes me realize the type of person you are, even beyond just not being a good person. You're blind.
Totally.
You're blind that it's like, I like you said, you're in the public eye, you know that. Whether or not it's fair, it is what it is. How are you not throwing extra $100 tips?
I don't know.
It's marketing.
Exactly.
You're literally
James Corden's the nicest guy. He left me $100 tip the other day. Great, you have it. Do it. And we're shitting on James Corden, obviously, but there's a ton of other celebrities that do this too. He's just an example, right? It's just poor taste, in my opinion, as someone trying to get to that level and trying to like do things and trying to like build, a name for herself and so on and so forth. I'm a big fan of like pay it back. And when you don't see celebrities doing that, it turns me off. Don't even get me started on Taylor Swift, know?
Right. And on the reverse, with your boyfriend Drew, I won't call out the actor who he met on the subway once.
Yeah.
It was really off-putting to him. And it was disappointing to me. Not an A-list guy or anything, but...
At all.
Not an A-list guy. And he acted like he was this A-list guy. Like, all right, dude, okay, cool. Like,
should have been more appreciative that someone even recognized him. Let's just start there.
Recognized him, and from what Drew said, was with an attractive girl. This is your opportunity. If this is me...
Right.
I'm being Mr. Celebrity.
Right.
Because I'm sure they walk down the street and nobody knows who he is.
Right.
Now here we are on the subway. You know who I am.
Right.
I'm going to play that up.
So now, to counter this, back when I worked for the Knicks, I had 2 really great experiences with celebs that matter to me. And this is what I think it should be.
Yeah.
Ben Schwartz was phenomenal. He was
you
so cool.
Are welcome.
So literally,
anytime.
Literally, Ben Schwartz and friends. Here's your and friends. We would love to be your friends.
I got run over by a Lexus.
Love it. The worst. So good. Just like everything he does is so funny and just
funny.
Amazing.
Truly.
Love him. When I met him at a Knicks game, I wanted to give him a shirt because I knew I was on my way out, and he was there with his dad sitting courtside. And I know nobody really knows who he is. I don't even think they put him on the Jumbotron that day, to be honest with you. But I wanted to give him a shirt, so I went up to him on the court at the end of the toss, and I was like, hey, Ben, this one's for my guy, John Ralphio. Just say what's up for me. I really just, like, appreciate, everything he contributed to comedy and whatever. And he, like, had the biggest smile on his face, and he was like, thank you so much for saying that. Like, you just made my whole day, and just, like, had this really cool little moment. And just, like, I think he really appreciated that I, like, gave a shout out to this, like, really important character. But that's not the case for everybody that plays an iconic role. I'm not going to talk stuff about Matthew Perry because he's passed away now, but he said some things about Chandler that people would lose their minds over. And I know this firsthand because my cousin worked with them.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, I'm not going to say it, but just like they don't always appreciate it.
And he is entitled to feel how he feels about that character.
I think he appreciated it towards the end. I think he didn't like it. I think he did. I think once the reunion rolled around, that was he shifted. But for a while, he was really bitter about it. Which is, again, just kind of sad.
It is very sad because I'm sure he was trying to find, he went on and did movies and stuff like that.
Totally, and he didn't get the success.
He was in enough movies and doing his own thing where it's like, really?
How is this the one that stuck?
And Chandler being one of the funniest characters of all time.
Iconic.
He was always, personally, that was always my favorite.
Me too.
My favorite guy.
Me too.
I thought that's dry, smart. That's humor I love.
And that's another one where the target relationship was supposed to be Ross and Rachel, but the awesome relationship was Monica and Chandler.
Yes.
They're the dream team.
They're the real goals.
They're me and Drew. They started out as best friends and then wound up falling for each other. Yeah. Like, goals is right.
Yeah, and absolutely.
And that's what it should be, in my opinion.
No, I completely agree. Not forced.
Just before we get too much off topic, that one other celeb that I had a really cool encounter with, Jack Antonoff.
Oh, and love Jack.
Yeah, we love Jack. And I fully, understand that Jack has, a little quirky side to him. But he was still the coolest person ever. I remember he was walking off the court, and he asked if he could take a picture with his, his little, what do you call it, disposable camera. He had a disposable camera on him, or a digital camera, some sort of, a not phone camera.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, do you guys mind if I take a photo of you? And I said... of course, Jack Antonoff, you are a musical genius. You can literally do whatever you want. And he got so awkward. He was like, oh, they know who I am. Oh, it's weird.
Yeah.
He got almost shy about it. And I was like, bro, come on, you're amazing. So he took a picture of us and I gave him a shirt. And then my boss looked at me like, why did you just give him a shirt? We're running low on shirts. I was like, he's a celebrity. I said, do you like Taylor Swift? You're welcome. He wrote all her music. Go away. He produced 90% of her stuff. Shut up.
How dare you?
Literally, how dare you? First of all, how dare you? He was on the court and on the Jumbotron, and she was the game director.
Yeah.
Just goes to show you what they're doing over there. But,
read a book.
Read a book. Get some education, please. But they never will.
No.
But that's another story for another day. We'll talk about that on a different note. That we're having too many good vibes to bring up that shithole.
Nothing good to say about the Knicks right now.
Not one good thing to say. Even as they're winning, I don't care.
God, no. Let's shift gear.
I know. I hear
'Cause
you.
Those games were just
I
awful
hear you.
for
He's
me also.
obviously a Sixers fan, so I hear you.
Oh, they were just brutal. Let's talk about something. I mean, well, another sad topic, but I think a great topic and something and someone everyone should know about. And we talked about it a little bit, but Jonathan Larson. You have a lot of good insight on Jonathan Larson.
He's a hero.
And would love you to share that because I'll throw this out there that, I was a little late to the game on Rent. I always knew the music from Rent, loved, respected it.
Yep.
Finally saw it, loved it. But then on top of that, I mean, we watched Tick, Tick, Boom together. And that just blew my mind. I mean, Andrew Garfield should have won an Oscar for that.
That was before Rent.
So good.
Yeah.
And the fact that the story seems fake. The story seems fake. And I'll just let you tell your bit of Jonathan Larson and tell it how you want.
Well, Tick, Tick, Boom is semi-autobiographical. Like, he really did write from experience. They really did deny one of his musicals and then said, write what you know. And then that's the one he wrote, which is really awesome. But it does go a little bit under the radar. It was slept on because at the time, again, that was not what musicals looked like. That was not the genre. That was not the thing. And until Rent happened after that, that was not the thing. And the worst part about all of that is that he didn't get to see the success of it. He died of that massive heart attack on the dress rehearsal the night before opening, which is crazy.
You can't write this shit.
You can't.
It's crazy.
You can't. And it's so tragic because at the time, so many of his friends were dying from AIDS, which is what Rent is about. It's an homage to his friends that were dying from AIDS. I mean, they talk about it a little bit in Tick, Tick, Boom also.
I always thought he was A, gay, and B, died from AIDS.
Well, he kind of...
Just because of...
because of the lore.
And everything, and I just assumed, he died. I knew he died young.
Yeah.
So it must have been AIDS because that's what he was writing about.
Right. It was the time also, right?
And also the time. It's the early 90s. It's very much so the time.
And he writes about it all the time. Like you said, he put it in Tick, Tick, Boom. He put it all about Rent. Like that was the whole premise of the show. And it was really to shed awareness on these friends of his that were literally dying from AIDS. And the irony is that the healthiest human on the planet drops dead of a heart attack the night before the opening. And it's this massive, massive success. And the success that he wanted his whole life, that he was striving for his whole life, he didn't even get to enjoy or appreciate, which is just the biggest tragedy of all. And I have a personal connection to John because he went to my college. He was in my theater program. So my teachers knew him. They taught him and dated him. One of the teachers at my school, I'm not going to share her name or her story too much, but I will say that she is based on the character Maureen in Rent, and that a lot of the qualities of Maureen remind me so much of that professor of mine. And when I watched that show, knowing who that person was now, I was like, oh my God, it's really the same human. He really just writes what he knows. And like, for me as an artist, it's like, wow, you really can just make it that simple. You really can just base a character off of someone you know because they themselves are a character.
Of course.
And that is such a game changer. And John really executed that. Mark is supposed to be him. That is his role in the show. He's the heartbeat, the director, whatever. He is the one that gets broken up by that character. Like, that was all legit. And there's something really beautiful in writing the truth. And I think that that's where the Tango Maureen comes from, which is such a banger. And like Take Me or Leave Me, all these songs, like they're really, you could see the truth in them. And that's what makes them so remarkable and memorable. And that just goes for all of Rent, honestly.
Yeah.
And then the guys that were in Rent, Anthony Rapp and Adam Pascal, geniuses. Adam Pascal is Long Island legend. Idina Menzel, also Long Island legend.
If you don't know who Anthony Rapp is, Google him right now because you do.
All of them. Yeah, literally. Also that. Anthony Rapp is like,
everything.
Totally. He also, poor thing, had the whole Kevin Spacey thing, but we're not going to get into that. Ugh, it's so bad. So bad. It's so bad.
Spacey.
Literally so bad. But that being said,
gay. Okay.
Oh,
Kevin.
really?
Right,
you don't say, right? As if we didn't all know for the last decade. Now you want to choose to say it when it's at this particular moment. We're gonna pull that card.
Somehow convenient,
bro.
You think we're gonna be okay with it?
The most cringy thing ever.
Yeah.
And as someone who like loves Anthony Rapp so much, that whole thing was just awful.
That is a heartbreaker.
His memoir is really beautiful. I have it if you want to borrow it.
What is it called?
I actually don't remember. It's based off Rent. I think it's something with a Rent. It's got a Rent esque thing. What does Drew say to you? Look that up, Jamie, or something, right?
Pull that up, Jamie.
Yeah.
Without you.
Without you. Without you. Without you. Yes. Yep. That's the one. Without You is also one of my favorite songs in Rent. That is one of the most beautiful numbers in the show. That song to this day will bring me to tears.
Yeah.
And I do have a little bit of an extra connection to Rent because unfortunately my sister was an addict.
Yeah.
And, RIP to my sister. But I
Truly.
saw a lot of what was going on in that show, and it was unfortunately a bit of a reflection in what was going on in my own life. So in a way it was like, oh fuck, I'm not alone here in this world. Like, there are other people that have experienced that as well. And it's nice that theater takes certain liberties like that and extremities like that at a time when in the early 90s that was not being done.
No.
And not being shown.
No.
And then by the time it went to the movie, they did the right thing and they use the correct actors, and when that was when I really needed Rent in my life to get me through that kind of time and feel that kind of community and felt like I was seen a little more.
Yeah.
So for me, Rent is just so multi-layered, but the biggest being that John went to my school and really like I could feel his energy on campus. I could feel him in the way the professors would talk about him. One of my teachers taught him as well. And like the way that they would share the stories about him, it's like we knew him. And after that, when I graduated, they did a seminar with Adam Pascal and Anthony Rapp at my school, and I went as an alumni. I was like, I'm going to this. There's no way I'm missing this. This is crazy. Have to do this. Have to. I sat right in the front. I give no shits. Like, that was it. Anthony Rapp sat right next to me at one point.
I have a question.
Literally, he sat right next to me at one point, and I was like, oh my God, okay, you're sitting next to me at Adelphi. This is freaking awesome. But they answered literally any question that we had. They did a little workshop with us. It was awesome. They put a concert on that night. I went to the concert. It was phenomenal. Anthony Rapp does an amazing Losing My Religion cover that you would lose your mind over.
Great song.
Truly better than the original, honestly.
Yeah, wow.
He has the voice for it.
Yeah, true. He does have a great voice.
And everything was just so beautiful to be a part of. So that's my Rent story, and I really cherish that musical always.
No, and I'm with you, and I think you do such a great job of, with your connection to him. I think that you do such a great job of really showing the truth of what Rent is.
Totally.
And because I think that Tick Tick Boom does a great job with that too. That of showing him, showing who he is, showing what the struggle was. That one of my favorite songs in that, and it's not even necessarily a deep song. What is it? I don't even know what it's called, but the Bohemia song.
Yep.
Where they're at the party.
Yep.
And it's late night, and it's...
Yep.
I love it.
And there's the mirror of that song in Rent, Love You Bohème.
Oh, gotcha.
So there's the mirror of that. So there's the energy in his world, in that first Tick Tick Boom-esque world. Mm-hmm. Then he took that feeling, because that's his truth. He was living in Bohemia. Yeah. At the time, that's what New York looked like. At the time, that's what Alphabet City looked like. And all of these things, right? Writers write what they know. John is one of the perfect examples of that. Jason Robert Brown is another good example of that, writing the demise of his marriage in the last 5 years. Yeah. So I think I personally just love the truth. I'm with that. I love the truth in theater. I love the truth in TV, in a joke. Yeah. I love looking for the truth, because the truth can be the funniest thing on earth. It could be it's the realest thing. It's the thing that connects you the most. When you see something that you relate to, you're like, oh man, that just hit me in a really particular chord. Yeah. And when art can do that, that's every check. Truly. You nailed it. Nailed it.
To go back to Hamilton very much so does that, because I've fact checked it just to make sure. Yep. And no, my dad, who huge history nerd, huge Hamilton nerd in general, the person, and then that's who I went and saw with my parents when I first saw Hamilton, and he had no notes other than it being great. It was that. Oh no, that was the story I read, because he read the same book Lynn read. That
of course he did. That's amazing. So shout out to Ken.
He knew. So and shout out Lynn though, because he saw this story and was like, this is insane.
You know the story of how he started to write Hamilton, right?
Well, is he taking a break from In the Heights?
So he just finished In the Heights. He just left In the Heights. Yeah. He was like, I am taking a break. I'm good for a little while. I need a vacation. We're going away with the family, and we're going to rest for a little while. We're not going to do anything. Spoiler alert.
Wrong.
He bought that book, that exact book that you're talking about, as a beach read. I think he was in the Dominican Republic,
Yeah.
maybe, or Puerto Rico. He was on some island.
Those.
I want to say he's probably in Puerto Rico. Realistically, that's his nationality.
He is Puerto Rican,
yeah, but he was on some island. I cannot remember which one
Yeah.
exactly. But that was the book that he brought to read on his vacation, like a big, good beach, like pool read.
Yeah.
And as he's reading it, he's like, oh no, this is music, and this is my next show, and here's the rap, and this is revolutionary in itself, but this is the foundation of hip hop also. And for someone to just pick up a book about Alexander Hamilton and go, oh, this is hip hop, you're a genius.
Yeah, what?
What is your brain? What even is your brain?
Right.
Can I study it? Because I would love to know.
Where did you see that?
Right. Show me, what page is that now? I must have missed that in my go-round. Because I never sat in a history class, in an American history class, and was like, you know what? This is actually hip-hop.
Well, and you know what, though, also, I think that, and thank God for Lynn putting this story out there, because what does everyone know about Alexander Hamilton? Even me and you, who are both history nerds. I didn't know much about him. I knew he died in a duel.
That's all I know.
That's all you know
That's
about
all
him.
I know.
And then you come to find out, I mean, this guy could have been one of our next great presidents. I mean, obviously, there's other things that happen, and go see the show. It's drama-filled. It's amazing.
Or watch it on Disney Plus. They have a delightful sing-along version with the original cast. And as someone who has not seen it on Broadway, I appreciate that. I'm very thankful for that. I cried the first time I saw that.
Yeah.
I literally said, this is not an exaggeration. It was during the pandemic. Lynn dropped that months early because he felt bad that the pandemic was a thing.
Yeah.
And instead of releasing it in the theater in November like he was supposed to, all of a sudden they were like, Hamilton's going to be on Disney Plus in July. And I was like, what? Excuse me? We were on vacation in Outer Banks, Drew and I, and, that was the year before we included you guys.
Yeah.
We were all watching it, and I literally, from the first number to the last, was pretty much in some form of a tear or something emotional feeling. And by the end of it, I literally said, I feel like a blind person who just saw for the first time, because up until that point, I had only listened to the music.
You're listening, you're not.
And I listened.
Don't get to see the little new
nothing.
One of our favorite moves.
Yes, exactly.
You don't get
exactly.
To see that stuff.
All of it. Just all of it. There's so many things. The looks, the nods, those little office moments in the show, like just those little funny things that you don't get to see.
Right.
It was literally like I was a blind person seeing for the first time. I was like,
No, that's so cool.
And I even said, I was like, this is going to sound dramatic. I know it's dramatic, but this is really how I feel after hearing this show for so many years.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And now finally seeing it with my own eyes with the original cast. It was cool.
Sure. And having it on Disney Plus is such a
game changer.
Again, as someone who did see it. And you know what? The current cast, I don't know if it's the cast that I saw, but the cast I did see was all phenomenal. But there's something about that first cast.
There's always something about the original cast. There's always
Leslie Odom Jr.
Exactly. But this is just a Broadway thing for me. There is nothing like the original cast of a Broadway show for me. Once the original cast dips, there's just something that it's not that it's not as special or it loses something. It's just different. And because it's the people's energy, right?
Yeah, sure.
When you have different energy, it just becomes a different show.
Sure.
So for me, I really do like to try to see the original cast when possible. With Hamilton, it was literally impossible because the tickets were offensive. But I do try to do that.
Not cheap for Hamilton.
No, they're not at all.
You're not getting in there,
and they're never going to be.
$100.
That's how it's going to be always.
Yeah. Which, you know what though? I'll say this: it's worth it. It's worth
that
every
though.
penny.
That
worth
though.
every penny. It's truly. I mean, it also came at a good time for me where patriotism, and we discussed this. Patriotism has this tinge anymore because it's been hijacked.
Totally.
I do love America.
If you're a patriot, you're a racist these days. Is what it really is.
Really, what it boils down to. And we've joked with this. I love that Hamilton it's a musical, so it's too gay, and it's also too black, so the Proud Boys aren't going to steal any of it.
Nothing.
So thank God.
It's so American. There's not, the only white person is the king.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Agreed.
That is the way it should be. I'm not even mad that I can't audition for that because I think that that's the way that piece should be.
Agreed. Completely agreed. It was such a cool take on it, and it was
genius.
Everything about it is just so perfect.
And one of the most powerful songs written for a female is in that show. Angelica's song.
Oh.
Satisfied.
Yes, so good.
Satisfied is one of the most, literally, one of the most impacting songs for a female on Broadway. Like, I equate that to, like, a song in Les Mis. Like, I equate that to, like, I Dreamed a Dream. That's how iconic it is to me.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. No, it truly is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. And that's what's so great is that I feel like there's so many iconic songs in Hamilton.
Totally.
That, like, I even have down here that, like, I always, for how much I love Wait For It, I always forget about Leslie Odom has another great song, Dear Theodosia.
Oh, my God, I love that one.
Which is a heartbreaker and such a great one. Lynn even, not necessarily known for the strongest voice, but kills me in It's Quiet Uptown.
Yeah.
It could bring me to
No,
tears.
I don't deserve you, Eliza. But hear me out. That would be enough. That's the Lynn.
Jason Segel's Dracula. And
legitimately, he could literally play that role. I wish Jason Segel's Dracula in Forgetting Sarah Marshall was a real show, and Lynn could totally play it.
He could 100% play
it. Die. I can't.
It's quiet uptown.
Legitimately, though.
So good.
Spot the difference. Corporate wants you to find the difference in the pictures, right?
I can't.
It's the same picture.
I can't. That's so good. Fuck, marry, kill.
Oh. Okay. Love that. Love that transition.
David Miscavige.
Uh-huh.
L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh, my God.
Yolanda Saldivar.
Oh, my God. So wait, fuck, marry, kill, David Miscavige.
Leader of Scientology.
Yes. L. Ron Hubbard, founder of Scientology, inventor of Xenu. And Yolanda, murderer of Selena. Oh, this is hard. Okay.
I know.
All right. Okay. Let's see. All right. I'm going to say I have to kill David Miscavige because I hate him so much. I just hate him.
And I'll stop you there to say I have to throw this in that with Drew on our last episode, I may or may not have killed O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
Killing him in that.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of energy we're bringing to this show. I'm okay with that. David,
I hear you.
That's a good answer.
I hear you. So what you're saying is, after you said you'd kill OJ died a few days later, and now that I said David Miscavige, maybe he'll die a few days later.
We could hope. Also,
we could hope. We could hope. For me, with David, it's like he is just a next level evil human, and I would just love to know what happened with his wife. I would love to know where is Shelley. I would love to know the ins and outs of his sneakiness, and I just think that he is the whole ringleader behind every bad thing that Scientology has really put out there. It really all does lead back to him. He was the real culprit.
Yeah.
I would say marry Elron because he probably has a lot of money from being the founder of Scientology, and he's old at that point, so he would probably die before me. So I would think, like, he's going to die anyway. I'll just take his money.
Drunk, so maybe a little funny.
Totally. And you know that his, like, weakened immune system was created by the alcohol and all that other stuff. So, like, you know, at the end of the day, I was like, this poor old sack. Like, all right, we'll marry him.
Wait,
and
so you're
So I would say fuck Yolanda, yeah. But I would probably fuck her with, like, a pencil or something, like, awful so that she felt pain and didn't enjoy it. Like, you didn't tell me how I had to fuck her. You just said I had to fuck her. So
no,
we would say it kind of,
right.
it would kind of be like when you had that answer. Yeah, what was
George Zimmerman?
With George Zimmerman, exactly.
Pain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I could actually do some damage with that, so I think that I would go for that answer.
I like that.
Yeah.
I give all the same answers. My reasoning, I'll take it a step further with Yolanda. I'm filming it and we're selling it.
I'm dead. Wait, so you have all the same answers as me for Fuck, Marry, Kill?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It's our 89 yin and yang, yes. He is June, I am December. No, not invited at all. But, like, literally 6 months apart.
Yes.
The summer, the winter, 89, yin and yang. That's our vibe.
Long Island, suburbs of Philly.
Cousins, essentially. We're basically the same.
Italian, Irish, Catholic.
Whole thing. Yep.
It's all the same.
Legitimately all the same. That's why the Phillies and the Mets hate each other so much.
It is, because we are each other.
Literally.
That's
cousins.
And I realized that so quickly working at Citi Field. I was like, I know these scumbags.
That's why I'm more than happy to jump on, like, a Phillies rally when y'all are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's fucking go. Like, I always say, y'all are cousins. Cousins.
This is Matt right there. We had 2 fun seasons rooting for the Phillies.
We really did. As someone who literally was Mrs. Met at one point. However, I do work for Yes Network now, so it's nice to work for winners for a change.
Oh, 27 rings.
27 rings, bro. 27. I went to that parade in 2009, bro. It was amazing. I have photos.
Oh, 09.
Yeah.
Beat the Phillies.
That was that year, yes.
That was tough.
That was that year.
You know what's funny? That was the beginning of the collapse for the Phillies. So, 08 they win. 09 they lose in the World Series. 10 they lose in the NLCS. 11 they lose in the round before. 12 they lose in the wild card, and then they don't make it again. It was literally that's
trauma.
Where it started. It's trauma. We're
trauma.
back though. We
trauma.
Back. We back. We back.
Back like we never
Shout
left.
Out Alex Bohm.
Dad.
Nick Castellanos, I love you. I know you're struggling. We love you.
Shout out to Alex Bohm for the best walk-up song ever.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 beat-em. I'm like, bro, yes.
It is.
That's the energy. It's his freaking name. That's amazing.
That's understandable.
Every time I hear that song, I can't not think of him now. I always think of him.
Oh, it's so good.
Every time.
It's as me being a little bit of the ditz that I am. The first time I even noticed it was at a game, and I was like, oh, I love this song. What a song for Bohm. And then, like, the fourth time, I was like, oh, Bohm.
It's his name. All right.
He's not just a Kanye fan.
Gotcha. Nobody's a Kanye fan anymore. I hope not, anyway. Good Lord. Kanye? You mean the founder of the porn company?
Yeah. Kanye, the neo-Nazi?
Right.
That guy.
I'm
going to run through, we'll round it off like this. I'm going to run through a couple articles. I'm going to give you the titles. Some stuff I think you'll be familiar with. I kind of want to see, do you care, don't you care?
Okay.
What do you think about it? I'm going to get, the first one was going to be O.J. Simpson because I wanted to give a shameless plug of the fact that I killed him, but we talked about it.
Love that.
So, and I know how you feel about it, and if we talked about O.J., this would be a whole other podcast.
That's a whole new story for another day. That's 3 other hours.
We'll bring you back on. There's a couple things we missed, and
Dope.
We'll hit that. We'll hit O.J.
Dope.
From the AP News today, what a TikTok ban in the U.S. could mean for you. So in general, this TikTok ban.
Okay, I'm here for this, and I'll tell you why. This is not something that I don't care about. I actually do care about this, and I actually really am all for it. And I really just, as a millennial, have always hated TikTok. I think it is the dumbest thing on earth. I think that I get it's freedom of speech, it's blah blah, but it's also a large tool for propaganda, and these young kids are really listening to a lot of propaganda. And I'm not just getting into the stuff with the war. I mean, there's just where do you think the Tide Pods phenomenon came from? There's just a lot of stuff that's very
groupthink.
It's so easy to be misinformed on TikTok,
and
it's so easy to just waste your life on TikTok. I find that it's not as addicting to be on something like Instagram because it's not constant video scrollings. You're constantly watching someone lip sync a song or dance or videos, recipes. Exactly. You're just going over and over and just getting sucked into this really scary black hole. And I think it affects our youth in a really negative way. I think it's really putting a very bad damper on their self-esteem and their outlook on the way they view themselves and just society. And it's constantly other people's accolades and success are being shoved into their face at all times. So now they, as a result, are thinking, am I not doing enough? Am I not successful enough? Because this TikTok person is also 12 years old and look at what they're doing and blah, blah. That scares me. And quite frankly, I just think that we don't need another app destroying our brains. We already have enough shit with social media as a whole. I'm really not a big social media person. I really don't care for it that much.
No.
I mean, the last time I posted on Instagram in itself was probably 2 years ago, which is hilarious. And anytime I do post, if I post a story, I'm getting 500 views because I never post. And people are like, oh, what's she doing? And it makes me feel the ick. That is the ick. So overall, TikTok ban it. Bye.
I like that take because you said all that without. It's not a China thing. It's not a U.S. thing.
It's not.
You're basically what I'm gathering is the inadvertent side effect of it will be a good thing of take it away from them. Because society, we don't necessarily need it.
Society is abusing it.
Yeah.
It's one more thing we don't need. To me, TikTok is equal to eating junk food every day. If you eat McDonald's every day, what did that Super Size Me doc prove? You're going to get sick. You're going to start to throw up. You're going to gain weight. You're not going to feel good. That is what TikTok is. It is a black hole of useless shit. And you're eating that content all day and you're feeding it into your eyes and your soul and your brain. Give it a rest.
Yeah.
Ban it.
Okay.
Ban it.
I like it. Ban it. We don't care.
Ban it.
Good riddance.
Yeah, literally. Good riddance.
the only videos I have posted on there are just my stand-up stuff, and I'm only on there because of stand-up.
You know why they call it TikTok, bro? TikTok, you're wasting your time. TikTok, TikTok.
Well, I know plenty of people that'll say, like, and there are people you wouldn't necessarily think are on TikTok, and they're like, I'll have 2 hours go by, and I have no idea how.
Black hole.
It's a black hole.
That's horrifying.
It is. No,
that to me, that's going into, that's just as bad as doing drugs and losing your brain for a few hours, going blacking out, losing your brain for a few hours. What's the difference at that point?
Yeah.
You're getting sucked into a black hole, and you're literally just wasting away your time. TikTok.
Agreed. No, I agree there.
Ban it.
Ban it. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Kristi Noem, a Trump VP contender, defends killing dog on family farm. Have you heard of this story?
No. What?
So she's the former governor of South Dakota.
Of
so
course.
in her new memoir, and I don't know what she thought about putting this in there. I saw someone make a joke of her thinking like she was going to hit the net, like, oh, my supporters will like this. Forgetting that Republicans like dogs too. So
everybody likes dogs, I hope. Good Lord.
It was a hunting dog that she calls untrainable, Cricket, which she hated. Excerpts say that she... never mind. She also said she shot to death a goat. I care a little less.
Oh my God.
But still, this just goes to show. But she says that this dog behaved like a trained assassin, was dangerous to anyone she came in contact with. I realized I had to put her down. I want to hear what you think. I know how you feel about dogs.
So wait a minute. So by putting her down, she shot the dog?
Yeah.
That's putting the dog down.
Yeah.
You they didn't take the dog to beat.
No, oh right. So no, they didn't. It's not like the dog was euthanized. No,
oh my God.
Yeah, I imagine
disgusted.
by the scruff, bring it back there with a shotgun.
Was this person canceled? I hope.
This person is currently Donald Trump's VP candidate.
Oh, great.
That's the front runner
that's wonderful. That's fucking wonderful.
Former governor of South Dakota.
So that is the most appalling thing I've ever heard, but also not surprising that Donald Trump would find this person to be a suitable candidate running mate. Okay, that's one. Two, you know how much I love dogs.
Yeah.
You know how special dogs are to me. I mean, I literally brought my dog home and never brought it back. That's, a whole nother story for another day. But from my store at the time and saved him and, that whole, we'll get into that another day. The long story short is I'm always looking out for the animal. I'm always looking to save the animal. I'm always looking to take care of the animal. My little dog, Theo, had a tick on him, and I was going nuts for weeks. I was like, what Lyme disease, how can he get it? Researching, doing everything I can, and he's fine.
Right.
The dog has the best life. He has the most amazing life ever.
Yeah.
But it's because that's what I give to him.
Right.
When you have a dog, you are the pack leader and the dog responds to you.
Yeah.
I had a trainer and Theo was difficult. I bring up Theo because he was difficult when I first got him. He was a biter. He had a nipping problem. He had a resource guarding problem. He would take the tissues and go under the counter and he would hide and I would have to exchange and barter with him. But I trained him.
Yeah.
My mom trained him. We worked with that dog to teach that behavior out of him and train that behavior out of him. No dog is untrainable. That is the most bullshit thing I've ever heard in my life. When I was doing research for Theo, top dog trainer said there is no dog that is untrainable. Right. It is the owner that has to be consistent with the dog. It's a reflection of her. It's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. The dog sponges up your personality. Theo is so much like me. Theo gets excited when he sees me bring the blanket on the couch because he knows we're going to nap together. He literally wags his tail, jumps all over this blanket because he knows I'm going to lay down on my side. Yeah. He's going to come right over by my chest and cuddle up to me. And he gets so excited for that because he knows adorable. That because that's what I trained him. Yeah, that's how I trained him.
Right.
The dog is a reflection of you. You know who else gets excited to sleep? This girl right here. Mm-hmm. I get very excited to sleep. Yeah. My brain tail wags because I'm like, girl, you're about to go take a nap right now. Yes, girl, we're about to take a nap. And Theo, he's like, yes, girl, we're about to nap together. Let's go.
Exactly.
That's your dog's energy taking on your personality. Yeah. So that bitch, that dog hates her and hated everybody because she's evil.
Fuck you, Kristi.
Fuck you. How dare you kill a dog? I hope someone shoots you with your stupid gun laws that you won't change.
You heard it here first.
Goodbye. From the
AP. Wake up, Sleeping Beauties. It's almost Met Gala time, and I got to show you the picture of the Queen.
Anna Wintour.
Oh, yeah.
What is the, does it say what the theme is this year? I forgot.
Let's see.
I always have a take on the Met
new
Gala.
exhibit, Sleeping Beauties, Reawakening Fashion.
That's what I thought it was. Yeah. Okay. So what are we asking?
You excited?
I'm never excited about the Met Gala anymore. That is something that like died in me a long time ago. I think it was around the time when Zendaya wore the Cinderella dress.
Yeah.
Because I felt like that was such a cop-out. And I'm like, all right, now what the fuck are we doing here? I get it's a nice dress, but it's literally just a Disney Cinderella dress that is literally lit up. And it went all over the internet and became a major sensation. And I'm like, this is not what the Met Gala is.
Yeah.
That looks like a Disney presentation. That would be cool in Walt Disney World. That's not cool on the Met Gala carpet. It was offensive.
I get that. Okay. So they've lost their way a little bit.
I feel like it's like sold out, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to watch. I'm going to critique everything.
Yeah.
I don't love the themes recently. Last year's theme was great. Last year's theme, Karl Lagerfeld, beautiful.
Yes. I know a lot of people loved that.
I loved that because it felt like the old school version of the Met Gala. We're honoring a fashion designer. We're honoring someone who contributed to fashion. The Met Gala exhibit for Karl Lagerfeld was a beautiful exhibit. I loved every second of it. I went to it. It was amazing. But that's the last time I got excited about a Met Gala in a long time, and I don't feel that way this year. Sleeping Beauty, what does that even mean? Like, again, this is like a Disney thing. What are we trying to do here? It's not the ball, it's a gala.
It feels cheap. Or it
so
feels
cheap.
easy.
Totally.
Like a cop-out.
Because people weren't getting it. They weren't understanding it, so they had to dumb it down for society. That's what it feels like.
That's a shame, because it's like one of those things that it's like, if you're in the fashion world, you're in the fashion world. I personally, it's a little out of my comfort zone. I appreciate it, but like, I shouldn't be your target audience.
Right.
And making me your target audience and dumbing it down for the fashion people.
Well, they did. That's what it feels like for social media, really.
I don't like that.
Same. That's why I'm like, I'll check, but I'm a little over it.
Especially for someone who I the bit I do know about fashion, I respect Anna Wintour, and I think that she's an icon.
But all of this being said, I do want to go at some point. Anna Wintour, please invite me. I would love to attend.
Yeah, with all that
being said,
I will be a princess.
I will totally dress up and also make a really avant-garde looking crazy outfit. And whoever wants to sponsor me, Gucci, Prada, whoever, Dolce & Gabbana, you call me. Just let me know.
Kid Super, my boy. We'll talk. It's not really my boy. Shout out Kid Super, but he's a partial owner of Bar Madonna.
Literally anyone. Well, you need a designer to fashion you for the Met Gala.
He is a designer.
Oh.
He is. So Kid Super is a streetwear designer who has. He did a.
Are they invited to the gala?
Did a Fashion Week collab with Louis Vuitton.
Wow.
So he was actually my cousin's girlfriend actually just pointed this out to me. He was up to become Louis Vuitton's next guy, I guess.
No way.
They went with Pharrell.
I know. Yes. Yeah. Wow. So he is a bigwig in design world. Big. Okay, so we'll talk.
Yeah. Well,
he could dress me. That's cool. Yeah.
No, and he's cool. He's got interesting stuff. I think you'd like some of the streetwear stuff's pretty interesting.
I'm very interested to hear. You'll have to show me more.
For sure. We're gonna end on a strong note. We're gonna bring back to Bravo.
Oh, love that. Full circle.
Former VPR star Rachel Leviss.
Oh no.
Spotted in Ariana Madix's shirt while attending Stagecoach Festival.
Do you know how angry I got when I saw this? I was heated. I was heated.
I knew you'd have feelings.
Heated. So many feelings. I mean, it's not enough that you stole her man. You got to steal her clothes now, too. It's really disgusting.
Did you see she responded to somebody who said, hey, where did you get that shirt?
No, what did she say?
She said something along, I'm not going to, this won't be a direct quote, but along the lines of, I forget, I'm pretty sure some boutique in L.A.
Yeah, sure, Jan. Sure, Jan.
Oh, it's
Are you
disgusting.
Sure about that? Maybe you got it in. Maybe you got it in the boutique that is owned by Ariana and Tom Sandoval.
Closet?
It's a little farmhouse, modern farmhouse in Valley Village.
Ugh.
Garbage. Yeah, no, she is Delulu. I mean, she's the definition of stupid. I can't deal with her anymore.
Yeah.
Raquel, whatever your name is, it's over. Get a new show. You know, the time has passed, and just get over it already. Move on. Live a quiet life.
Yeah.
I heard she's dating some dad now, some single dad. That's fine.
Yeah.
Get off the podcast. Nobody wants to hear your podcast. Nobody's interested.
If you wanted to go off into the distance and you wanted to be away from Bravo, cool.
For your mental health.
And that's fine. I'll fully support that.
Me too, when it's real.
You're on these podcasts.
her own.
You wanted to tell your story. You didn't want to. You wanted all the good of Bravo without the bad.
Exactly. And there's no such thing.
Tell a story.
And there's no such thing.
No.
When you have a platform, there will always be haters. Period.
Always.
And at the end of the day, she gave us a reason to be haters.
Yeah.
She literally destroyed or helped destroy this relationship. Granted, of course, Tom Sandoval has his blame too. There's no way that I don't also blame him even more so than Raquel.
Blame him.
Of course, me too.
But that doesn't mean that she's anything
innocent.
other than disgusting.
Agreed. Agreed.
Two people need to do that. It's not.
Right.
It's also not like she was just some random mistress. She was Ariana's best friend,
and she denies that, and that is really tough to watch.
That goes to show
she literally said on the show, "These are my forever friends," and then later on went to say we weren't really that close.
Well, that's something that these people love to do. We saw
Guilt.
Sandoval do it with James Kennedy. We were never
also
that
true.
close.
Also
Big
true.
Bro,
Also true.
Paid for half of his engagement.
That's also true.
We
You're right.
close.
You're right. But they weren't close. Sure, Jan. Another
cop,
Delulu.
That's the cop out. Is that a way? Is that a way to throw a punch in? Like, oh no, we weren't that close.
I think that's really what it is, though. I think it's just the guilt, and they're just downplaying their guilt because they know that they were close. They know what they did was wrong.
Yeah.
So in order to say like, oh, we weren't that close, it kind of makes them sleep better at night.
Truly, I was just gonna say it really is a truly whatever helps you sleep at night.
Exactly.
On that note,
this was so much fun.
I had so much fun. We'll have to bring you back.
Always.
Like I said,
I would love to be back.
So many more things that we'll talk about.
Yep.
I'll come on your podcast.
Yes, please.
We've got big things coming. As always, guys, stay tuned. My boyfriend loves Bravo. Tiffany Bux or Tiff Bux on Instagram?
Tiffany Bux.
Tiffany Bux on Instagram. I'm going to tag her and everything. Guys,
love that.
Check her out. She's great. She's hilarious. Like I said, one of my best friends.
Best friends.
Oh, my God.
It's one of those nights.
It's one of those nights. So talented.
Thank
guys,
you.
Big things coming from both of us. Stay tuned. I'll see you next time. You'll see her again.
Thanks for having me, Mitch.
Awesome. Thanks. It was a pleasure.
It was fun.
That was a lot of fun. Good job. You just leave it.
Leave it?
Yeah, these are actually kind of cool. They don't even really have an on-off switch.
That was great. High five.
Yeah.
That made it go so fast.
Yeah.
How long were we even on for? That felt so quick.